So I don't really want to talk too much about the war in Iran. I've made some videos on it before, and I don't want to comment on the situation because there's a fog of war. There's a lot of propaganda going on, and I wanted to just kind of keep my mouth shut about that. However, there is a consequence. One of the symptoms of this war is the supply chain disruptions. So there's one specific issue I want to talk about, and that is the effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Iran hasn't necessarily minded, they haven't necessarily closed it in the sense that they're targeting every ship that goes through there. But the fact that ships are being attacked, in fact, one was attacked earlier today, effectively it's closed because of insurance rates. To get insurance, because it's in a war zone. And this cargo, I mean, you're talking millions and millions of dollars worth of cargo on each one of these ships. So to get insurance on that is a little bit more difficult when you're in a war zone. And Iran does have the capacity to really close it. I mean, they can shoot at anything that goes through there. These cargo ships are pretty slow-moving ships. They're easy targets. So as a result, most of the oil in the Persian Gulf has to go through the Strait of Hormuz. Water transport's a lot cheaper. The next best option is pipeline, and there are pipelines that do bypass the Strait of Hormuz, but it's not of the capacity that they can get most of the oil out that way. Most of the oil still has to go through the straits. As a result, East Asian countries are already looking into tapping into their reserves. You're already starting to see a search for alternative energy sources like coal, for example. I guess one benefit of this for the United States is that we are selling a lot of coal because that's what the Chinese will use to power their plants if they don't have, the heavy crude that they would use alternatively from that region. You also have Japan, which is a major economy. I believe it's the third largest economy in the world, and it's a major trading partner of the United States. It holds a lot of U.S. debt, by the way, too. And they get most of their oil also from the Persian Gulf. Now, they do have a sizable reserve, but it's just that it's a reserve. And it gets dwindled down over time. And, the Japanese economy was already on the ropes. There was already some institutionalized fraud. That is, they have problems with their banking system, and I made a video on that also. So that's not an economy that we want to put pressure on. You also have Southeast Asia. Now, some of these countries don't have oil reserves. We're talking about countries like Vietnam or the Philippines. They get most of their oil from the Persian Gulf. So these East Asian countries, whether it be, the South Korea, China, Japan, that's Northeast Asia, or Southeast Asia, you got the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand. There's a lot of supply chain steps locked into that area. And when we have supply chain disruptions, all it takes is factories to shut down in Vietnam, and you got entire products that just don't get made throughout East Asia. So if Vietnam shuts down because they don't have the ability to import fuel, we're talking about a major hit to the rest of the economies in the region, because that's how that works. You get, say for example, like computer chips, right? Like if you have computers, you have low-end chips that are made in China, and I think in Southeast Asia they make low-end chips. I think Malaysia does. You got the higher-end chips that are made in Japan and South Korea and Taiwan. Or you got certain components of computers that are made, say, in Vietnam or in Thailand. If one of these economies goes down, then it's a break in the chain. And then the product doesn't get made. So you don't have the components to then make the higher-end product, say, in South Korea. So this is actually a lot worse than it looks on the surface. On the surface, you think, okay, well, it's just Vietnam, that's affected. Really, it's the entire world that's affected. So it's very important to understand the consequences of war. And I can quote Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu talked about this. He says that you shouldn't just hastily go into war because once you're in a conflict, you have escalation, and when things get escalated so far, and the people get involved, where everyday people get involved, it starts becoming unpredictable. And then war is no longer in the hands of the leaders. It's in the hands of the militaries at that point. So Trump may lose the ability to have any control over the situation. So we have a situation that's out of control. It escalates. It's unpredictable. We don't know exactly how this is going to end. I hope it ends well, but there's no guarantee of that. And I'm still going to hold my opinion on what I think exactly is going to happen. But I really hope that things turn out well. I hope that that we can get out of this as soon as possible. Because, like I said, the longer this goes on, the worse it gets. So I hope we have an off ramp sooner than later, and I hope everything works out well. I hope it works out well for everybody, but we'll have to wait and see.